Nisam Bulavinaka, which in the Itoke Fijian language translates as there is life in abundance for you. It is our way of greeting here in Fiji, where I am sharing this video because we are 11 hours ahead of you, so it's already very early or very late at night, very early in the morning. My name is James Bhagwan. I'm the General Secretary of the Pacific Conference of Churches, a fellowship and network of some 30 plus churches from around the Pacific, with 9 national councils of churches from about 15 different Pacific Island countries and territories, which make up approximately 80% of the Pacific population. You know, a deep spirituality permeates the communities of the Pacific and really is at the heart of the Pacific people's relationship with one another and also with the environment. This spirituality is integral to the way we interpret, understand, and interact with one another and the natural world, and is enhanced by the many faith traditions of the world which have grown their roots in diverse Pacific communities. These faith traditions are shared with 85% of those who share this planet. The language of spirituality, for us, our Christian spirituality, is expressed from our Pacific standpoint in metaphor, in image, in silence, in hymns of praise and cries for justice, in reflection and meditation, in ethical action, in confession, in repentance, and in justice and compassion. And that spirituality is not only experienced through faith communities, but also through our indigenous culture. That deep sense of what we call in Fiji vanua, whenua, which is more than just the translation to mean land. It means land, sea, sky, the whole of creation, and is rooted in a respect and celebration of just relationships with all creation. The winds of change continue to blow in the troubled waters of the Pacific, and yet the Pacific people and Pacific communities of faith, whose ancestors ruled the waves of this mighty ocean with the huge ocean-going canoes designed by indigenous technology and navigated using traditional indigenous science and knowledge of the ocean and the stars, continue to voyage towards a Pacific where life is significant, valued, and celebrated, and there is a celebration of life over material wealth. Our Pacific Christian spirituality has the mana, the power to draw human beings together into a life that is sustainable, wholesome, peaceful, and all-embracing. The Pacific Conference of Churches has been calling for a total ban on nuclear weapons since 1975 and has consistently advocated for this, most recently in our 11th General Assembly in Auckland in 2018. And we've had the specter, the shadow of nuclear weapons over our region since the first bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki during the Pacific War, or the Pacific Campaign of the Second World War. The radioactive material entered our region as the uranium and plutonium weapons bound for Japan were flown from the Tinian Atoll in what is now the Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas Islands. The radiation from those covered planes, covered in that radiation, flew back to the Pacific, spreading radiation across our air and our land and our water. Since then, the people and environment of the Pacific have suffered as the guinea pigs for the proliferation of nuclear weapons. These experiments designed to secure world domination were undertaken in the United States, which held 109 tests in the Marshall Islands, Kiribati, Johnson Atoll, Alaska, and the open ocean. The United Kingdom, Great Britain, held 21 tests in Australia and Kiribati, and France, which held the most number of tests, 340 in Maui, known to you as French Polynesia. To put the impact of these tests on scale, these uranium-fueled atom bombs dropped on Hiroshima had the blast equal to 12 to 15,000 tons of TNT. The subsequent tests in the Pacific for the last 50 years following from 1946 to 1996 by the UK, US, and France is the equivalent of 9,010 Hiroshima bombs, between 108,000 to 135,000 tons of TNT. Today, portions of the Pacific stretching from Eniwatak in the North Marshall Islands to Kirisimati in the central region of Kiribati, Mururoa in east, in Maui Nui, French Polynesia, remain not only uninhabitable, but gradually leak toxic effluent into an ocean, which is a food source of the region and the fishing ground of the world. And today, 3/4 of a century after the first Bikini Atoll test by the United States, the people of that once beautiful coral paradise remain displaced or physically scarred. Servicemen from Fiji, New Zealand, and the UK and their descendants battle the illnesses caused by exposure to radiation from the hydrogen bomb tests from 1957 and 1958. And of course in Maui Nui in French Polynesia, 1/4 of a century after France terminated its nuclear testing program, the people continue to cry for justice, compensation for medical treatment, as waste slowly but surely leaches into the sea. And currently there are strong indicators of an imminent collapse of Mururoa Atoll, where the testings took place, which will cause the remaining radioactive substances from the French test to spill into our Pacific Ocean. This is a challenge for us to our colleagues, our friends, those who are listening, to hear the cries of our communities who struggle to sing the Lord's song, the songs of freedom and justice in our own islands, in our own ocean. These cries in the Pacific are not only for the people, but for the land, for the sea, of which we as Pacific people are a part. Today we note that there has been only one major successful case for reparations just recently with France. But as a general rule, there is very little being done for compensation. The loss of life, land, for illnesses and deformities caused by the nuclear tests in Maui Nui. The untold physical harm and sickness and displacement, in some cases for 50 years, for the people of the atolls of the Northern Pacific, by the USA without any consultation or explanation or reparation. And the failure of the United Kingdom to act justly towards the soldiers and sailors of its former Pacific Island colonies, who, out of loyalty to the Crown, took part in nuclear and hydrogen bomb testings in the waters of present-day Kiribati in 1957 and 58. Many of those men and their descendants have been diseased or debilitated due to the effects of the testing. We firmly believe that God created the world in which we live as a means to sustain humankind, to provide life through water, air, food, and shelter. And we renew that call today. The world must end any responsibility of nuclear war and mean no chance of even one nuclear weapon ever being detonated again. In Fiji, just recently, the government of Fiji, the Parliament of Fiji, voted unanimously to ratify the nuclear proliferation ban treaty. And at the same time, we in the Pacific call for justice and reparation for our forced role in nuclear testing. And so for you gathered here in these discussions, in the name of justice and peace and abundant life, we ask you to lend your heart and your voice to this work, to this call. And in doing so, may God bless you and bless the rest of your discussions and your deliberations. Binaka, thank you.